a lot of familiar faces, but I want to know kind of who we're talking to today. So, sole proprietors. How many sole proprietors do we have here? Just 1, 2, 3. Okay, good. 2 to 10 employees. Is that kind of a sweet spot? What do we have in here? Here we go. All right, perfect. And then 11 to 50. Anybody larger? There we go. And 50 plus. No big companies in here right now. Okay, good. What would you say your role is in your business? Sole proprietors obviously have to do everything, but 50% or more of your energy, time, attention, management or internal leadership. Okay. Sales, generating leads, closing deals. Do you have a quota? All right, there we go. We got some sales. Okay, good. And then marketing, publishing events. Okay, so it's 50% or more. Did I say more? Okay, so I guess you could be both. Half sales, half marketing. But I like that. Operations, logistics, human resource. I mean, this guy is human resources. He's 100% human resources. And then, so business to business. Is the bulk of your revenue from business to business type transactions? Who's that? Okay. Business to consumer. So, you know, families, individuals. Okay. Awesome. All right. So we have a lot of that. We're going to be talking about communication. That was a lot of our prior conversation or prior presentation by Alan. Communication, creating connection. We want to go kind of up the chain there, and we're going to be leveraging technology. That was also kind of brought up by someone else in the paper clinic, being able to leverage technology. I think it's going to be a little different because they were talking about two-way conversations, and we'll hit on that. But this is mostly going to be about one-way conversation. So what is your process of building relationships with your audience? And an audience doesn't necessarily just mean customers, doesn't just mean people who give you money. It could be internal communication, could be an internal audience, or if it's a nonprofit, it could be stakeholders. So really want to think about that. Who is your audience? And your audience may be separate from your buyer. So take, for example, a child doesn't buy things, but that may be the audience of whatever you're trying to sell if you're Fisher Price or, you know, a toy company. I'm going to break it down real basic. Who, where, when, what, why, and how. And the biggest question I always have to ask is, where is the attention of your audience? If you are thinking in kind of old school methods, you're going to be behind the boat. You may be overspending on certain mediums, and that's going to be kind of the shift in discussion today is, let's find where the attention is, let's attack it in the most affordable way and scalable way possible, and let's leverage some changes in the way that the market works now. So I was going to make a graph like this, but then I found this graph and I decided I would just steal it. And it also illustrates, yeah, exactly. It illustrates another point here because it's actually from 2002. And this is how a lot of people market. This is how a lot of people try to reach their audience, as though it's 1998 or 1999. We're talking about audio tape. How many people are reaching an audience with audio tape? Videotape, I assume they may mean like a commercial. I mean, this is documentation. It's a little bit different. But then, so this is kind of the one way, and then this is more of two way. And now we're into email conversation. That's, innovative. Phone conversations, video, face-to-face is obviously the best, and that's why everybody's here today, and this isn't just a webinar. We get to collaborate and come together. And the XY is a little different than what I had envisioned, so I created my own. Really, on the Y-axis, we have impact of communication. So face-to-face is the richest, and then we have cost per communication, or what I like to call scalability. So we can reach a lot of people, but what is the cost going to be? And it actually needs to be kind of flipped a little bit on the one I'm going to be putting together, because the cost per communication, very expensive here, but the impact of it is going to be high as well. We want something that is going to be a sweet spot where we can scale it, but it's also going to have a strong impact on our audience. So connection with a purpose, a lot of the beginning of this is going to be the philosophy of how we're going to communicate, how we're going to connect with our audience. And I kind of think of this as an ad. Business seeking mutually beneficial relationship with two-party commitment. I'll put this ad in Craigslist, right? We want something that's win-win, right? Value for both businesses. or it could be an end customer. That's our business is working with other businesses. For the provider, they're going to be giving a service or product. So these are the commitments, right? Provider is giving a service, maybe it's legal advice, whatever it may be, business growth, or able to tap your audience. And then the buyer or consumer is going to be giving money or alternative consideration. That's going to be their commitment. And that kind of leads us down the path of creating content with this idea in mind. And so I have a few that I've brought up. We have, we're going to talk a little bit about Wayne Anthony. They're developing their content strategy and how they're reaching their customers through different media. And so I'm going to play a little bit on here of something recently they put together. But if you start to look at, all this stuff is apparent to everybody. How are your customers viewing your own content, and how are they viewing your competitors' content, and how can you reach them? So marketing is always an arms race, right? As soon as I start doing something with great video, well, my competitor is going to start doing something with great video. And so I need to continue to one up and stay ahead of the game. And that can be really frustrating, right? It can get people scared to even dip their toe in. I got a podcast with Jesse. Well, now my competitor is going to try to get a podcast with Jesse. So what are we going to continue to do to stay ahead of the game? A lot of that is working with somebody you can trust. But there are a few things that if you stay on top of, you can be ahead of the game. So let's jump in. Hopefully I don't get any awkward messages on here while this goes down.
Where's my phone?
So we have the Facebook page. She has some of the things I mentioned right here, which is comedic branding skit, news and updates. There's going to be some reviews and testimonials. Hopefully they're positive. In her case, they're all positive. And then she does a great job, or her team does a great job of curating and sharing relevant material that her audience would enjoy and engage with. So that's really important. Let's go back here. So we're going to show one piece just because it's really, really amazing. And if you haven't seen it, here's your chance.
Welcome to Madam Liability's palm reading and car insurance. What do you want?
We were in an accident. Yeah. How did you know?
You just said it when we walked in the door.
Are we covered?
No.
If you buy your insurance online, who knows who your agent might be? Have the advisors at Wayne Anthony Insurance in Viera review your coverage today. Unless you like risk. Wayne Anthony Insurance, the right agency with the right coverage for you.
That's a great piece, am I right? Yeah. So this is an example of a branding and marketing video where it's not just the facts, it's not just, hey, we're a boring, stodgy insurance company. It's getting the message across of, yes, we want to be on the lookout for things that are going to go wrong and protect your assets, but here is a funny way to present it that creates a vehicle for it to be shown on these networks, on these social media networks. And you can see there's engagement, there's 50 people who've specifically engaged with it, there's 57 shares, and then you also have something that you can pay all these platforms, whether it's Facebook or even television or the movie theater, to play it. So you have to have a vehicle to do that. And this is one particular example that Christy and her team has put together.
9,000 Facebook views.
9,000. Those are 9,000 people that were reached that wouldn't, not necessarily they didn't already know Wayne Anthony, but you're creating a deeper connection with them, a relationship, and it's something that is a one-time investment as opposed to maybe smaller micro content that gets put out on a regular basis, that's smaller updates and bites and pieces. Cryderman's Barbecue does an amazing job of branding themselves. They put out a lot of content. So they have a high concept narrative film called Brisket Biography. This one's a little longer, but we're not going to go through all of it, but we'll just show you the beginning of it, just showing a similar idea as far as reaching people through social media. They show a lot of behind the scenes, how they make the brisket, what it's like there, so people can see that it's clean and it's fun. And then they can see that it's, looks amazing. They put announcements out. They just announced that they're opening a second location. So that's a good reason to have social media and have an audience there waiting for you. And they regularly go live on Facebook. So we had a lesson before this started, right before Alan's presentation, on what is Facebook Live. A lot of people haven't harnessed that tool. But take, for example, Cryderman's Barbecue has 3,500 people that like and follow their page. It sounds amazing. Every time they post something, 3,500 people are going to see it. That's not how it works with Facebook. About 1.5% to 2% is what is actually going to get shown to your page followers, your page likes. But there are ways to hack that. There are ways to know Facebook's algorithm and make sure that more people, more of your audience, are going to see your content as you publish it. And one of those ways is Facebook Live. So when we went live, all of your friends or all the people that follow your page, almost all of them, received an immediate notification, which normally they wouldn't receive if you just updated it. If you just put an update on your page, it's just going to end up in a news feed. And that's where I said Facebook wants the viewing and experience for their XYZ person, like say Austin, for example. There's 500 friends on Facebook. Well, if every single one of them post an update, you really think that's going to be in his entire newsfeed? It's a fire hose. So Facebook's main problem is to limit that fire hose problem of data to something that the end user, the experience that Austin has, is going to be something that's going to keep him on the platform. And that kind of brings us to the next point of being native when you post. So Facebook likes Facebook links, doesn't like YouTube links. If you ever post into YouTube, if you ever post a YouTube link into Facebook after watching this, I'm going to smack your phone out of your hands, okay? Don't do it. Now, there are ways to cross-pollinate some of your channels. So, we're on Instagram, we're on LinkedIn, we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we have a podcast, we're a media company, right? That's what we do, is use all these social media platforms. So you want to have calls to action to get all of your audience on those other platforms, especially if they prefer Instagram, but you're using Facebook mostly. You need to find a way to get content on both platforms and then pull people onto the other ones. But it's not easy. You have to have a process. So that's what they take advantage of. Let's just take a quick look at their page. If I can use my mouse. Sorry. All right. Click on it. So Cryderman's Barbecue, Cocoa Village, the most amazing brisket you're ever going to eat. Is this a commercial for Cryderman's? I don't know. It's a Tide ad. So you can see, I think they went live here. I can't tell. But see, they get very good engagement. 102 people looked at this. Now, they have so much content in here, it's not going to be quite as easy for me to... But here it is, their featured video.
Most are fast asleep. For those on the journey to create the best brisket, work is just beginning. It's 1:04 a.m. and Chad is here early to start the 30-plus hour journey of culinary alchemy these briskets will take to be transformed from a tough, cast-off piece of meat to black gold. To endure the 14 to 16 hours of heat and smoke that it'll face, the beef must be trimmed to uniform specifications. Chad selects a
so yeah, the whole process
team sourced out and split. He
all
starts
the
with
way.
that juicy, tender texture. Goodbye. The fine folks that travel from all over to Cryderman's Barbecue may not know what all went into crafting this brisket, but they know where to go when only the best will do. It'd be a real shame if you just took our word for it.
So this is something that is a more narrative piece, kind of going through the step-by-step of how they make it. They take so much pride in what they make. They have so much passion for their process that they wanted a documentary on how they make brisket. And it's amazing because this is another vehicle and an easy way to distribute that and show it to your audience. You could go there, you could eat the food, and then you could leave, and you could know it's amazing, and maybe you talk to your friends about it. But something like this creates a vehicle for the raving fans that show up to this place to be able to share it with their friends. And I know it's tough to read over there because it's really tiny. And here we go, awkward conversations. So this particular video had 350 engagements, likes, hearts, whatever, wow faces, 82 comments, and 173 shares. So is it because it's an amazing video? Maybe. Is it because they've been building their brand aggressively? They've been real intentional about it. I think that probably has a little bit more to do with it. But once they've built that audience, they can leverage it by putting a piece out like this. So you can see that all these people, let's even go up, you can't even see all of them. They start tagging their friends, talking about it, and really creating a deeper culture around just one small restaurant that's been open for 1 year. That's the power of media and social media.
Did you guys do the narrative as well? Or is that their...
That was a partnership. So we're going to talk a little bit about how, well, Austin's going to be more involved in how we actually pull this off. But yeah, we worked hand in hand. There's a lot of different ways we do it. Sometimes we write it, sometimes they write it. A lot of times we just work together. Okay. And then Ideal Impact Media, what do we do? You can go on our own social media and do that. You should really just pull out your phone right now and like us and make sure you comment and share it with your friends. So you'll see what we do, Ideal Impact Media, and then Spark 11 Productions, which is the wedding brand. We show a lot of behind the scenes. We show a lot of announcements. Obviously, we have the luxury of showing our final completed projects. Blake, on the other hand, can't just like say, there's a lot of limitations with being an attorney, but he can't like show a contract or private information. But there are limitations with every business. So kind of thinking about that, And then our kind of most recent campaign is an industry-specific, what we call a public service announcement. So a lot of us, we fancy ourselves premier in our category, and we want to spread the word. That's not necessarily a sales pitch, but it's what should you be asking for? What should you be looking into if this is a service or product you're looking for? So, for example, Blake could say, when you're looking for an attorney, make sure you ask them about, how their last 5 cases went or whatever that may be. So this is great for everybody, and it's not a salesy type of way to get content out. It's really just elevating the industry as a whole. And then another thing we leverage is a Facebook group. So something that is not specifically tied into the brand, but it's called Business Impacting the Space Coast. We give a platform for our clients, and it also creates a little bit more exposure for us. Facebook loves groups. They want pages to pay, but groups, on the other hand, they're the same thing. They get a little bit more stretch and reach from just getting into people's news feeds. So that kind of brings me, so those are 3 kind of specific pieces that I think are doing a good job, and then they also have ways to get even better. Obviously we have websites, and everybody has to have a website, but how's somebody going to find a website? There's SEO, there's Google search, but a lot of ways, if you're not specifically looking for that type of business, and especially if you're in B2B, you may not be, you have to be able to find a way to reach out that isn't just cold calling, that isn't just knocking on doors, that is going to have scalability and be cost effective, and that's what social media can provide. So what are the roadblocks of having content, creating content? Time, resources, knowledge. But I think the number one thing is really not making it a priority because of a lack of understanding and a lack of some of the benefits, and then some self-doubt. People think, oh man, I'm not going to look so good on camera, or I hate the way my voice sounds. What are your excuses, or what if people make fun of me, things like that. I think that's what's stopping a lot of people. So I think the best way is to first, what are the benefits of creating content, which we've been continuing to hit on. I think it creates an authentic connection. That is one of the only ways, other than face-to-face, and especially video, that you can create an authentic connection. You're not specifically curating or spending a lot of time editing some sort of white paper. It's regular content of things you do in your daily life. That's what, like, the behind the scenes or your daily business. You can create a lot of brand engagement, very, very useful. Control the narrative. If you don't have something going out, then your customers, your competitors can think and say whatever they want. You want to have a means to do that, and there's no better way than through social media, because you can reach out a lot more than things can just come in. Share your passion, pride, and process. You know, you saw a few of those where we love to work with brands like that, and that's a big part of what we do too. Is just any brand is really not a great fit for us. We want a company, a business, an owner, or whoever's, you know, the marketing chief of marketing there, to have something that's going to make them unique, and that's what's going to create something like the brisket biography. If it was a Sonny's or a McDonald's, we don't have anything to say there. You know what I mean? We want to be able to showcase that, and that's what we do. You can also find better customers when you have a larger selection, or ones that the customers are seeing what you're doing. They have a more intimate details of your business. They can do some of their own self-selection, right? It's like, that's not a good fit for me because I see what they're putting out on their social media, who they say they want to work with, and what their process is. It may be, I just can't afford them. I can tell right from their social media, but you wouldn't want that conversation either. Somebody who doesn't have the budget, they can self-select themselves out. So
on that one, actually, I have a point on the better customers thing. It goes back to what Alan was saying in his thing about the wrong hire can cost you more. Well, how many business owners here get that trouble customer that's not really the best fit for your business? Or I know in attorneys, you guys have specialities, right? You might get somebody, well, I don't do that type of law, I don't do this. Well, if your business is well explained on social media or through any kind of media, the customers that know what they're looking for, the ones that have the needs that you particularly fulfill, are going to be the ones finding. You're going to find those better customers because your business is going to be that much better understood by the public.
Yeah. And the number one way I like to use it is warm up cold conversations. So I'm still a sales guy at heart. I'm still reaching out. So I'm doing phone calls. I'm trying to meet people at networking events. And when I show up to a networking event that is going to be, have the movers and shakers, I'm hoping that a large portion of them already know who I am before I get there. Maybe they don't, intimately know me, but say, I saw you on this weird video, this weird dude. And I was like, okay, well, that's better than it's a stranger in the corner I've never met before. Hopefully it's positive. It's like, you did this thing, it was really cool. But that's just, especially in a small market like this, that's intimate, I think that that's a really great use for this.
It's a really good point. We all look for warm introductions versus cold introductions. That's really helpful reason.
And I think I kind of want to lead in. A lot of this is about Facebook, because I wasn't sure how many kind of business to business people we had. But I will say, and Facebook is the biggest search engine. Really, it's where most people spend a lot of their time. They fall into that black hole. Facebook makes damn sure that you don't get out of it, just like I said, because they're not going to show things where you're going to fall into the YouTube black hole. They're going to make sure that those links are hidden. But a social media platform that's really not being utilized in this area as well as it should be is LinkedIn. A lot of people don't understand LinkedIn. It has its own quirks, and people are scared of it. They think, well, I'm only going to see people who are really professional, and I'm afraid to put anything up there. There's a lot more fear and doubt than even Facebook when it comes to talking about your business. And what I want to do, more so than people connecting with me on Facebook or even our business page or me personally, connect with me on LinkedIn. One of the best things that works with LinkedIn is what's called engagement groups. So you have a group of people that you regularly make sure you're posting content up, and when it goes up, if somebody engages with it in the first hour and a half, it's much more likely to kind of make it out of that first step. How many people have actually posted something on LinkedIn, like a link or text or, okay, and how many times are people going there more than like twice a week just to kind of go through the news feed? More than twice a week. Okay, so not a lot of people, but how many of yourself or your friends that any given post has like less than 2 or 3 engagements on it? It just seems like it's a black hole. It's a one-way conversation. And for a smaller market here, engagement groups is one of those ways to do that. And so we're trying to kickstart that and creating stuff that is going to be a little bit more shareable and engaging. The other way that it's real different than Facebook, and Facebook used to be like this, if you liked something, something comes up in your news feed and you like it, that doesn't necessarily mean that all your friends in Facebook are going to see that you liked it unless multiple ones of your friends liked it. Then it might show it to who you mutually kind of have in common. But LinkedIn uses that almost like a share. Whatever you liked, it's going to show me if we're a first connection. So whenever you like something or whenever you like someone else's stuff, it's going to promote us much quicker, and it's going to, those results are going to be exponential much faster. But it takes kind of getting that critical mass and getting people excited about it. And there's just so much opportunity because, when no one was on Facebook, all your stuff was seen. Well, everyone's on Facebook now, a lot of your stuff isn't seen. But LinkedIn, no one's on LinkedIn. You change your way you handle it a little bit, and you can really get your message out there, reach your audience a lot better. And then I use it to promote friends and clients regularly. So I use it as a platform in multiple ways. Business Impacting the Space Coast is a great way that I can do that. And just finding other opportunities that are going to bring value to your clients, to yourself, and get your message out there. A great link, I found this on Hootsuite, 23 Benefits of Social Media for Business. This is just a few things, but I would definitely take a look at that. And now we're getting into the fun stuff, Production 101. So kind of how do we create those crazy things? And this is much more of Austin's field, but I want to talk before we jump into kind of pre-production, concept development. And that was kind of the first, 9 slides, 10 slides, is really talking about understanding your audience, who they are, where they are, what is their mindset when they get into Facebook or get into LinkedIn. I use LinkedIn in the morning and then I may not see it again in the evening, whereas Facebook, I'm much more active in the evening. So from a business perspective, I need to make sure my LinkedIn material gets out early so people are going to see it, engage with it, and it's going to get that critical mass where it gets reach. Facebook is going to be the opposite. Facebook 4 to 8 o'clock is where most people are maybe looking at their news feed and will come across your material, engage it, and share it. And so we want to get in that mindset, and we want to get in our customer audience's viewpoint to start to create that concept. And that was your question about. So Cryderman's was 4 separate meetings just on going through their process, starting to write down what are the key elements, and then ultimately through the rest of pre-production, which Austin will talk about. Some clients, they just write a storyboard, but we need to have a very sound concept developed before we start to press that record button, because we want to make great things, but we got to keep it within budget. So with that being said, I want to pass the proverbial mic to Austin, our director of photography, creative director, to talk about pre-production and the rest. So thank you.
Yeah, so thank you, Trevor. I picked out one particular aspect of this I'm going to talk about a little bit more because it's something you guys can go home and see. Some of this is kind of behind the scenes, invisible stuff. So I'll use some of the pieces we've done as an example. I'll use Chrissy's, for instance. We're talking about concept development. Sometimes these things just happen. I think we were at Starbucks and we were talking about, insurance. And I was like, well, what if it was like this hilarious lady that does palm reading but also sells insurance on the side? And then we just kind of like laughed about it, talked about it. And then we found Chrissy. She said, well, that's a funny idea. And we went into scripting it, come up with a script. So we got to look at the business. We got to look at their name. We got to look at what they do, what they specialize in, and see if we can work a script into that that's going to make sense. So you guys saw the one before. The guy obviously was not covered by the cut rate insurance agent that was really a palm reader. And that's one of the worries. So we put on we look at the pain point for any business. You're going to insurance, you want to make sure you're covered. You have cut rate insurance, you might not be covered, right? So that's what the guy was not covered. His wife was pissed.
That's a majority. That's a theme that comes upon. The guy's an idiot, and the wife is usually like
that is kind of a trope that we play on. So So she was pissed, and the lesson learned is don't buy your insurance online. Find somebody qualified, personable that you can talk to face to face, and that's why we told them to check out Wayne Anthony Insurance. We showed the building. You drive by it all the time. It's literally right there. So yeah, we kind of hit the point home. So from there, we had the script treatment. We had to find a location. We had to have wardrobe, the palm reader. We actually we bought that palm reading sign that you saw in there. It hangs in my office at home now. I don't really do palm reading. Although I will maintain that I'm probably just as good as anyone else because I don't believe in that. But then we had location scouting. We shot that at Miss Mango's, which is right down the street. Have you guys you've been to Miss Mango's? Really cool store. I already had the vibe, but it's very earthy and it's very so very wood. Everything's wooden, but we kind of we transformed it with lighting. It's like very red and blue and neon to kind of get that like shiesty neon. I'm going to read your palm and tell your fortune and take your money kind of a vibe. So we kind of we had the right vibe, but we just wanted to massage that a little bit. Then it came down to something that really Trevor should be talking about, but I guess since it's my time, I'll say scheduling. The actors had to be there. Any assistants that I was going to have there shooting it, and also with the people to unlock the door for us because we did it when they weren't open. So we had some scheduling there. That's just kind of outlining why, it is a lot of work what we do. We didn't just show up with the camera and then we had the palm reading ad. It took a lot of different things. So then we got on set. Of course, we were talking about the lighting a little bit already. We've got thousands of dollars of equipment we're bringing in, and much to Trevor's chagrin, I'll probably leave something behind when I go, and Trevor will be the one tracking it down because it's just my scatterbrained way of doing things. And then editing, releasing, and distribution. The one that I wanted to kind of go over was kind of the treatment and storyboarding because later when you're watching, everybody consumes content. So later when you're watching television, movies, whatever, what I'm about to show you, you might start to see it. It's kind of one of those things that when you do it a lot, you can't unsee it. So when I'm watching movies, I'm seeing like every little cut and all that and analyzing. So it kind of takes a little bit of the fun out for me. Are these the next slides?
Just hit the arrow, yeah. Just hit the right arrow. There we go.
All right. That's why I brought my props too. So I'm going to show some Jurassic Park. And we're going to learn from Spielberg for just a minute. And this is just for fun. I mean, this isn't something that the business owner's involved in. But the reason I chose this scene here is because this character and this character are first introduced in this scene. We haven't seen either of these people before. We don't know who they are. So you see this scene is a wide shot. And it's really studying the geography. Because when you're watching a movie, your brain doesn't know, or you don't notice it, but your brain kind of does. You understand where the characters are. If the Terminator's coming in slow motion and Sarah Connor's sitting there, well, you know he's going for her, but why do you know that? Well, they probably had a wide that showed where the characters were in space. And like I said, you don't notice it, but your brain does. So we've got this guy coming in, we don't know who he is. We've got this guy over here, he's motioning for him to come. This is our wide shot, but these two are going to have a dialogue. Now, if we jumped right into the dialogue, which would have been a no-no, Spielberg would have he wouldn't have done it that way because he wants you guys to understand when you watch the movie what's going on. This is still a wide. We know that he's now moved to his chair. In both shots, he's always left looking right. He's always right looking left. It maintains the continuity throughout. So when we go back, we're moving into close-ups now. Again, right looking left looking right. We go to the next close-up, right looking left. Or right looking left looking right. So it always maintains if I go back and forth. We know that's a conversation. If we cut to this scene here, he's right looking left. If we cut to the next scene, and he was right looking left, well, it looked like they were both talking in the same direction, as if Trevor and I were having a conversation like this. How's it going, Trevor?
It's great, Austin.
Yeah, but no, it doesn't look like that. Well, we have to maintain this continuity whenever we put together a piece. You go back to the palm reading scene, the palm reader, she's always right looking left. The other character's always left looking right. It maintains that continuity, so when we cut back and forth in their dialogue, it makes sense to the viewer. And that's something that we take very close. We pay very close attention to because when you pay thousands of dollars to have a commercial made, it needs to be cohesive. We're trying to get your message across of your business, and if we fail at doing that, the audience is confused as to where the characters are, who's talking to who. Well, we're just muddying the waters. We're not getting your message across at that point, and we're just looking foolish on our end. So, just wanted to use a fun example there. I got some props, and last point on this is every scene in a movie or even a commercial is trying to accomplish something. Like I said, we've never seen these two characters before. We don't know anything about them. We're learning everything we need to know right here. He's got to have a way to steal the dinosaur DNA, so he gave him that. There you go. He says there's enough coolant inside for 72 hours, so we know this guy right here is going to be stealing some dinosaurs. We're ready for that. We see it happen. There's suspense. It builds up to it. There's a couple other scenes in the movie where you see the can in the background. The camera kind of moves in that direction. We're starting to build suspense. So then we know when he finally grabs that and goes to town, it's very quick to when he dies. But spoiler alert.
We haven't
Came
seen
out in
Jurassic
1992.
Park. Yeah.
But every time they move the camera, every time they do anything, it's for a purpose. They're either trying to create some kind of emotion in you, they're trying to show you where people are in space, they're trying to set other things up. They're not just turning the camera on, they're not just going in, everything is planned to the nth degree, especially on something that costs, I don't know how many millions of dollars Jurassic Park costs, but we want to bring that to our business owners. If you guys are getting your point across, we want to make sure that we're putting that utmost care in to basically respect your message properly.
Yeah.
And I'll hand it back over to you, sir.
Do I get the...
Yeah, here you go. I'm going to play with this then. Ugh.
So to give a further illustration on some of the content we create for our own business, not just for our customers, this is that PSA, and that was shot right here in this building. And so you have an opportunity where you are to create some content. And so we wanted to kind of give you at least two kind of takeaways today. What are some general things you can do to create content for your own business? And then how can you distribute them? And have a little bit, start to develop a process and a framework of what are you going to do? How's that campaign going to work throughout the next 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, so that it drives and gives you the results you're looking for. This is actually number 2.
Today I'm showing you how Ideal Impact Media turns this into this. So when you post media on Facebook, that video is like a little window into your business. You want to make sure that you're shedding yourself and your brand in the best light possible, which is exactly what we're talking about today. So I'm going to show you a little bit about how we at Ideal Impact Media help businesses and business owners shine their brightest. Today when I came in, I actually chose the most boring background we had in the office, so that way I could show you exactly how the lighting techniques and the filmmaking techniques that we employ help you look your best no matter what environment you're in. Once I had the shooting environment selected, I went right to work with lighting and different techniques to enhance the scene and to make sure that the subject was lit in the most visually appealing way possible. Now I'm going to show you what it looked like when we first arrived. Okay, so this is the environment as we found it. This is kind of how it would look if you just showed up, turned the camera on, and started recording. But that's not what we're going to do. One of the first things that we actually do is we turn off the house lights when we show up. That way we can use all of our implements to make it look the best we can. We're going to add our own key, so we've got a large softbox right here to light the subject. And the very next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a little extra contrast and separate me from the background with the kicker. So Trevor's going to turn that on. And now that we have the subject lit, we're going to take a look at the background. We placed a spotlight right behind me with a red gel. It's going to add a little extra interest to the background, kind of kill that boring wall behind me. And we still have this boring kind of block right over here, this blue block. So we have another spotlight that we shine through a tree to add a little bit of shadows behind me and further add interest to the background. Now, I think when we first looked at the image, those shadows were a little bit harsh on the background, so I have another panel at my feet that's going to soften those just a little bit so they're not too distracting. After that, we're going to add a little bit of fill to me. The image is almost complete, but we want to make sure there's not too much contrast, not too many shadows on my face, so we're going to walk this reflector in, and this is what we end up with. So as you can see, a lot goes into creating these great images, and Trevor and I put a lot into making sure that every detail is correct for the business owner. So if you're out there putting yourself on social media not looking your best, you could be doing damage to your brand or your image. And there's no reason to shed your business in a negative light. At Ideal Impact Media, we've made a lot of businesses look their best. We want to put our talents to work for you.
So that gives you a general idea of the transformation, the work that goes into, and that one's a little over the top, and not everybody's going to be in a sci-fi film for their video or for their business.
I had to show a drastic change.
Yeah, no, you did, and it was just. Oh, okay. It was. I don't know what the language I'm looking for is, but that's just one example.
Well, normally we film in the paper clinic, we film long ways, so we show all the interesting, awesome environment. We don't just pick a wall.
Yeah.
That was the point.
Yeah, and it's to show that every business has a wall, right? And what could be done in that
if somebody's
area.
worried about that, all they have is a wall. Like, well, I don't want to have them come film because my place doesn't look good, or I have like a crappy office. Well, we can go there and make it look good. Like at the paper clinic, we're lucky, but that's why we normally wouldn't choose just a wall. But we wanted to show that we can still make you look good no matter where you're at.
Yeah, and one of the points that he didn't even mention, but we have amazing lighting here. Everything was replaced. Thank you to the great work of Desiree and Blake. It's well lit, but well lit is still not dramatic. It's still not catching attention. It's really about the other aspects that were shown here, and so this one's really it hits on a lot of points. So I have a few other things that we can go through and some other content that we've created and we can talk about. But I'd like for this part to be a lot more kind of discussion based. So I want to know, in your business, what are you putting out now? What would you like to put out? Or we could even, give me an idea and we can riff on it a little bit. I know Alan is always up to be involved.
He's going to start his own production company soon because he's seen me set up the lighting like so many times. He's like an expert by now.
So tell me a little bit, HR.
Right.
You want to get your name out there. You're involved on LinkedIn. Tell me a little bit about what you're doing now, maybe any questions you might have.
Sure. So LinkedIn for me is a really good business networking opportunity. We have Facebook traditionally in my line of business has been used more for the personal side, and LinkedIn more for the business. So I've been getting more and more involved in Facebook than just LinkedIn. But I'd like to build more of a social media presence. Create more of a company page that I can do some of these fun media experiences, figure out how to link that back to other social media platforms and just build a solution.
Yeah. Is there anything that you're thinking about right now, or you're just saying that's a general goal for you, and what is your timeline on that?
Yeah. So before the end of the year,
okay,
I want to be out. I like the idea of the commercials. I watched you guys work a couple of times, and I think it's really it's fun to watch you work. You're very specific and very organized in your approach, and I think that lends itself well to what it'll look like when it goes out. So I'd like to be more involved in that. Some of the commercials I've seen you do.
Yeah. So we could talk about that. A lot of businesses want to have an anchor piece, which I think is a great idea. We talk about some of the regular content that could go out, and even us, we're putting out content on a regular basis that isn't super well lit, isn't perfect audio, and that's our job. But as long as you're representing your business well in a few areas, you have an anchor piece that shows your professionalism, that shows your expertise, like you're seeing here, then you can kind of filter in on a regular basis, on a weekly basis, maybe more often, other content. But it's great to have that anchor piece. That was kind of the one for Wayne Anthony. They had some videos that were put together by some other production companies that were actually supposed to be professional and they weren't, but that's not their fault. That's the production company. And then now that they have a few pieces that are very professional, they can filter in just regular stuff. The day-to-day interviews. They're starting to do things with the podcast studio. That's an amazing way to put together regular content, is starting a podcast, having your guests on it. For you, it would be amazing. For anything business to business, it's just, it's mind-blowing, the results you can get that way. There's something you wanted to address? You just want to stand
There's
there?
going to be a discussion. I've spoken from the back of my head to them a few times, so I figure if there's going to be a discussion, I might say something that might be up here.
Okay, so let's talk about that. So having an anchor piece that shows your professionalism and authority, and then being able to filter in some other things that are a little smaller, regular, would be the best way to go. That's how I would approach business to business. And really having a LinkedIn strategy is going to be really good. Although you're not going to get a lot of traction right now without engagement groups. I would also start a Facebook group, or, we're going to be partnered because you're in here, but it's someone else who is in business to business professional services. The groups on Facebook are great. And then just having people you are regularly going to engage with on LinkedIn is silver bullet. Is definitely going to be above and beyond.
So I was thinking also then, if we go with that, what do you think about the idea of having short 1 to 2 minute, I call them vignettes, but they could be whatever the proper term is, where I might ask you any challenges you've had this week with personnel, or any challenges you've had this week with, understanding employment basics, that kind of thing, where we'd have a dialogue.
Yeah. Like a Q&A.
Yeah.
I think that's great. And the shorter the better, especially on LinkedIn, because people on LinkedIn are busy. So anything that's longer than 2 minutes doesn't do well. Facebook, because a lot of people are doing it in the evening, we're seeing actually longer stuff works great. You know, we have a 13-minute documentary, which, by the way, just got officially selected into a local film festival. Oh, cool. Yeah. So, thank you. But LinkedIn, definitely short Q&A, and text works amazing on LinkedIn. Yeah. You have to structure it in a certain way, but it just works really well.
Do you normally use the same piece for all the different venues?
Slight changes. Yeah. When it comes to video, like highly produced video, not usually, although like TV, you have to do it in 30 seconds. And everything else we can do as long as we need to, other than LinkedIn is 10 minutes right now is a limit, and Instagram is only 1 minute. I will change the copy on that, depending on what it's for. For LinkedIn, it's gonna have usually more text, and then the video, if it's gonna be a video. For Facebook, it's like 2 or 3 sentences to get people just kind of jazzed up.
I think that could be highly dependent on what the business is as well. Well, you were talking about having the shorter pieces, and as part of our strategy with Ideal Impact Media is we do those PSAs, right? Show like here's what we do with lighting. Well, your business could be, you know, because there's so many facets of HR, little PSAs could be like a huge help to people, and they don't look like you're advertising yourself, but you are. Right. So it's like an ad in disguise. You know, you're saying like, you know, here's a problem that I sometimes see. I wanted to, or you know, a new piece of legislation could come out. Hey, just want to do a quick PSA on this. This is new coming down the pipe. Well, you're the face of that because you're on there doing it, even though it's really helping anybody in HR. Well, you're the one that took the initiative to do that. Your face is the one that's out there. Well, guess what? Who's going to get all the marketing benefit without looking like, hey, I'm waving a big sign, right? Yeah, so it's like an ad in disguise, but it's also helpful. And also shows that you're keeping up with what you're, you know, with your field, which is great.
Yeah. It's a value instead of a pitch. So. Yeah. Let's hear some other questions. What are your strategies? What are some ideas that you're thinking about, but you're not quite sure how to implement them?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Are you doing Facebook Lives from your business page, or are you doing them from your personal page?
Usually business. Depends on what it is, but like today, we did a crazy, everybody like Facebook Live at the same time. I did it from my personal page because Austin did it from our business page because we were all doing it at the same time. But from the personal posts get out pretty well. They index well. So it's where business posts don't index well with your audience, but using live will kind of hack into that. So that's where I would definitely, as much as you can, not necessarily as much as you can, but going live on Facebook, you can't make it really short. Make it longer, make it 2-3 minutes at least, so that people have time to kind of filter into it and engage with it. But even if you share it after the fact, like even if nobody saw it and then you posted it, Facebook is still going to give an alert to your audience, more likely, that's going to say, Fit Focus Heart went live 6 hours ago. You weren't there and you didn't watch it, but I'm going to let you know. Whereas if you just posted it or just made a video, it's not going to show up in there. Now we do have some tools that can make actually produced videos show up as live, and I'm sure that clock is ticking on that. I'm sure that's going to go away sometime soon, but we have the ability to do that as well.
That's right. We could run like the Cryderman's video. We could actually run that live.
To take advantage of that.
So that way everybody would get notified. And we can do that with any video. And, you know, we could even run multiple ones because like some of these ads are short, like hers is like a TV, is kind of like a TV commercial in the length that it is of the palm reader. Well, if we decide to run our documentary on Bob's Bike Shop live, well, we could actually put commercial breaks into that and have her thing kind of show up in the middle as if like, kind of like how you're watching TV. Yeah. I could put that one in there. I could put some of the other ones we put in. So like people get hooked into this documentary, but then we're slipping in commercial breaks just like TV does, but we're doing it live on Facebook. So there's a lot we can do.
So I make a lot of videos, but I don't go live because when I mess up I curse. Anything that I want to put on. So I post a lot of stuff to my business page and then share it through my personal page. Because my personal page is just, it's work. There's no friends on that. So is it better just to post it to the personal page? I'm trying to get them to my business page. I feel like the personal page is my
well, you're posting it to the business page?
And then sharing it from my personal page.
Yeah.
So
they're all the same people.
Okay, so, well, you should be trying to get it shared as many places as possible. If there's businesses in the video, what are the nature of your videos? What are they about?
Just us as a company. So we sell title insurance.
Yeah.
Very boring, so I try to make us look boring.
Mm-hmm.
So just a lot of like, hey, what's up? We're doing this.
Yeah, some personality.
Do you have a guest on if you video something to somebody else, make sure they share it. If there's another business involved, ask them to share it.
Because I always tag everybody in our office.
Go further, message them and be like, hey, do you mind sharing this? I think this is important.
Yeah.
So they're better, so you get more, like if I tag you, is it better, do I get more views from tagging you, or are you sharing the
Well, if you tag me, it might show up on my page, but somebody's got to go to it. It's not going to show up in my friends' news feeds unless I share it, right?
And it depends on their own settings on their page. Like for me, yeah, it won't. If you tag me, it's not going to go anywhere. I have to approve it. And I generally, you don't want to piss off your friends or your Facebook or Facebook as a whole. So you got to be careful with the way you navigate that. Think about it from Facebook's perspective of they want to create a good user experience. So create something that's fun and engaging. That is, Wayne Anthony or Brisket Biography. She could stand there and talk about it. Or you could create something that's fun that people want to share. And they're like, this is really cool. Even strangers want to share. But that's not a bad strategy. Put it on your page, share it personally, find ways to mention other people, other businesses, even if they're not there, so that they're invested in it, they want to share it because it's creating value for them.
The end goal is trying to get people to my business page.
Right. Just making stuff that's as shareable as possible. That is the number one thing you can do. And that's why the production quality is so high. That's why we want to have funny concepts instead of, just informational ones. It's all about shareability. Instead of having to pay to run commercials, maybe thousands of dollars a month and reaching customers on Facebook, which is great because you can target audiences. But if you can make it more shareable, you're going to get a lot more legs out of it. So,
yeah, it goes without saying that you want to produce the best content that you can. So if you're making stuff that you're not that proud of, maybe you don't want to ask people to share it. But if you have something that you think is really good and people that resonates, then share it. Yeah. Get them to share it. That's what he was going back to with people paying ads, like people having like subpar video made and then paying thousands of dollars to boost the post, right? Well, basically what they're doing is they're taking something bad and then they're making people see it. If I had something bad, I would want to hide it, not make people see it. Well, so they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot. Whereas like if you make something really, really good, you might not have to put any ad dollars behind it because people might be, oh, this is hilarious, and they're going to share it, or, so what we call the organic reach. What business owners and I like to call the organic reach.
I did have one more.
Oh, so sleepy. Oh, so tired.
What did I do with that?
We did do a PSA on that as well about producing good content. Is that what you're looking for?
Nope.
What are you looking for?
I don't know.
So I'm trying to get, there's a couple lawyers in here. That's always tough market.
I gotta go. No.
I feel like John Morgan probably does the most entertaining commercials, and let's be honest, like, are they very entertaining, or is it just?
He's like the only one really doing like that brute force. Like he's really brute forcing it too. Like he made it to where everybody knows his name. Like he forced it.
There was another guy, Stakelum in Orlando. Now, I liked his TV commercials. I don't know if you remember him, but in the late 2000s, early 2010s, he was the guy that used to be like, you deserve a trial attorney with experience. Call a trial pro, and then he'd be petting like a white Bengal tiger.
That's great.
Remember those?
I don't.
Stakelum, yeah. I think the Florida bar kind of made him stop doing that finally, and he's a little more professional now, but I feel like every attorney ad I see is just incredibly boring. And one of my problems is, like, I'm a contracts attorney. 90% of you don't think that's very exciting right off the bat. But I feel like if I could get people to come see me early, like when they're starting their business, before they make mistakes and sign themselves into a corner, it's so much cheaper to pay me in the beginning than it is to pay me after there's a problem, because it takes me hours and hours to unravel these things and make arguments that they're unfair and all that stuff. Whereas if you come see me first, I can just be like, yeah, you're not going to want to sign that. So I feel like I have a challenge. I have two challenges. One is that I'm a pretty laid back person to begin with, even though I see we got the same memo, even like brought the same belt, but I'm a little untucked, like I'm wearing my Converse All-Stars with my business casual. So I don't want people to feel like they're going to the principal's office when they're going to see an attorney. And then on the flip side of that, I feel like I'm dealing with something that's so, like, I'm trying to finally tailor my image.
That's my problem too. Like, as a lawyer, you operate under ethics rules, and so you can't be too cheesy, and then if you are too cheesy, you seem unprofessional, but you want to be approachable and entertaining. And the old school, because I'm Gen X, is don't advertise, or if you do, it's completely boring and you're risking getting in trouble with the ethics.
It was originally illegal for attorneys to advertise directly to the public before.
Right, so I will tell you, it makes me nervous, the thought of going on, like, what if I accidentally say something wrong? What if I accidentally give the wrong advice? Is somebody going to report me? Am I going to look like a joke? And then it's really like an extra little thing.
But what does John Morgan do? Just to quickly kind of reference that, he talks about his family, he talks about his values. He doesn't give legal advice. Yeah. I'm just saying there are lots of ways to create content that your customers can connect with that aren't going to put you at jeopardy of all the issues that come with the Florida bar and licensing.
I think the PSA idea for businesses, for your business and for Stewart Law, I think little snippets like that where you just gave, that would have to be.
You just like tell who you are.
As much as a lawyer doesn't want to use like sophistry and like word salad, you kind of do want to be like, you use very vague language like helpful, like I'm part of the community, like rather than like something very like something that could be litigious,
Well, now that you say that, I mean, one of my good friends in Kansas City, she did a great marketing campaign, and she just basically sat down and told people who she was and why she did what she did. And she didn't really give any advice.
Just talk about like I said, the wishy-washy words that don't really, they mean something, but they're not like hard facts. You're like, it's the opposite of what he was saying about facts. Well, for this, because you don't want to get cornered,
right.
No facts, like you want to use like hopeful, like
right. And what people want to know.
That one commercial says we want to get you the something you deserve.
Right. So, well, they didn't say what that was. It's just like you said, like a caring attorney or whatever you would. Don't use like specifics that can get you in trouble. Use something that's more vague and says more about your character and less about specific legal terms and stuff like that.
I think what the beauty about Facebook is that it's creating engagement. So I may not know anything about you, but I'm following, the Stewart Law page, and then I see you on there, and so then I start following you, and it's really just kind of a brand awareness that we don't even realize that suddenly, oh yeah, I'm going to call you because I've been seeing all your stuff pop up when I have that issue.
Right.
So,
when you murder someone.
Right. Yeah. Oh, is that what she does?
No, I don't know.
Okay.
Right. So who do you who would you be advertising? Who would you be advertising to? That's my question. Who are these people? Because like most people aren't going to find themselves in the situation where they need that level of legal defense.
Yeah, I do all levels.
Okay. So like obviously like if you're like murderers, call me. Like it's not what you do. Like because there's very few of them. Hopefully, right. And then hopefully you're representing the innocent ones anyway. Hopefully, right?
Everyone's presumed innocent.
Yeah, but that kind of goes back to your question. So what buyers want now more than ever is they want to know who they're buying from and what they believe in. So why do you do what you do is so much more important, and what are the ways you can do that? You can run commercials, you can meet them face to face, that's the best way, and kind of have, a passionate story with it. But brand storytelling through the leverage points of social media where people are going to want to share it is the best way to do it. And so that's kind of leads back to that, and that's why we do what we do, is kind of getting that stuff out there and helping brands.
But you guys brought up something early on. I think, Trevor, you brought it up about one of the reasons people don't do, and I'll confess that I've been hesitating on being pure social branding. Maybe you're going through it too, Jessica. Is fear of what people think, right? So what's the brand I want to create? What do I want them to see? Where am I trying to get to? And what if I say something that's the laws change so quickly? And so I think that's a really important part of where you guys can help with that level of collaboration.
Right.
Give you the best example I can. You've been working with Sarah.
Yeah.
We made that video for Sarah. She did not want, she was so embarrassed to post that video, the one you saw. She's like, I feel so silly putting this out. I don't want to do it. Why are you pushing me to do this? I'm like, just put this video out. It's gonna be, and then she got like 1 million positive comments. Feels completely different now. But like, she was literally, you saw how nervous she was. She did not want to put that video out. We put it out. So many positive. Now it's the opposite. She, people are, she sees it now. She's like, I'll put it on LinkedIn. I just don't want it on Facebook. My friends are going to see it. It's not my But then, we put it out and everybody loved it, and now she feels good. Well, you're seeing that from the inside of your own head. We see you completely differently.
That's right.
Blake sees himself as Kirk, and we see him as Blake. So, we love him anyway.
But that's a big part of what we do too. Obviously, family is always hard to deal with. You could be the highest in your field, but your family members will be like, sure. I don't believe you. That guy's an idiot. But when we work with customers, when we work with business owners, it's coming together and making them feel comfortable, working them with what they're trying to approach and who and how they're trying to approach them. The old style of video production was we sit on our hands, wait for a phone call from an ad agency, and then we just do what we're told. We have too much expertise in other areas and working with businesses to do that. So we go out and we find our clients, and we're much more hands-on, and we're a part of that creative process from beginning to end. So it's a little different.
Kind of like buying like a crazy new jacket you're super excited about, but you're afraid to wear it in front of your friends, right? They're not like, can I pull it off? It is.
Right.
It is like, that's how Sarah felt. She's like, this isn't me. This isn't.
I'll tell you, lawyers kind of make fun of other lawyers that do advertising, so there's that aspect too, because there's that whole stigma that it's.
It is tricky, yeah.
Who's laughing at the bank though? John Morgan?
Exactly.
When was it that they made it legal for lawyers to even do it? It was illegal.
Morgan's been on the forefront of that because he just does whatever he wants until the Florida bar says no, and then he sues the Florida bar. So he just keeps pushing
the envelope, yeah. It's the same with the pharmaceutical companies too, because it wasn't until like 2005 or 6 when FDA allowed them to market the actual medications. Because before, you never saw a commercial about anything unless it may have maybe Tylenol or something, but you didn't hear about blood pressure medications. You didn't hear about Botox.
And then the side effects make you think that the disease is probably not that bad.
No, and notice how they sound like an auctioneer at that part. Side effects may include death.
It's longer than the rest of the commercial.
Yeah, see, you read the side effects. It's like, oh, you cured my headache, but you gave me explosive diarrhea. Great. It's like pick your poison. But yeah, to answer the question, like you guys do have like some pretty serious anti-solicitation laws, right, for attorneys. Like
we do want to show, this one is a little bit longer, behind the scenes of a recent commercial with a local celebrity. And Jesse's wife wasn't there, so we want to show her what it was like
all about it
to be on set.
If it weren't for that, I would be asleep right now.
Oh yeah, those beautiful brown spots. There's a lot of challenges to solve and make sure that the day could go as successfully as possible to get the shoot done effectively and to the standards that we always expect. And when you go all exterior, there's just so many things that can go wrong, so many variables between noise, which we faced, lighting, weather, other people just being around. And then when you add semi-nudity, as I'll call it, and you'll see in some of the behind the scenes, it can just be a recipe for disaster. And I had nightmares. I knew that we had to be there really early. We wanted to get that golden hour, and we didn't want to be shooting at high noon. So we had to start very early. I set my alarm for 4 a.m., but I was up at 2:30 because I just couldn't sleep. I wanted to make sure we got this done before, the sunrise really hit a point that was just going to make everything look awful. So I'd love to dive into it. And then I got a lot of behind the scenes. We had a lot of help on set, thank goodness. Our talent, I call him Mr. Brown Spots. He's the one that's going to be wearing the tighty whities.
And he's got his own podcast.
He has his own podcast, actually runs a podcast studio that's local podcasts in our area. This is one of the nightmares I was worried about, that he was going to get cold feet and just be too scared or worried to show up, too nervous.
But the opposite of that actually happened.
But the opposite, he crushed it. He exceeded my expectations as he had some experience performing, but not necessarily in a production like this. And he did amazing. One of the first challenges when you're outside, there's a lot of things you cannot control that are sounds in the environment.
This is us arriving on site right here. This is me in the 5:30. No, it wasn't. Well, it's probably about 6 at this point. We got to the office around 5:30 and started gathering, and this is around 6. So there he is, the man, the myth, the legend, the Jesse Hall.
Mr. Brown Spots.
And he crushed it, I have to say. He doesn't have any lines, which actually is harder. He, he had to do all the physical acting. So this first shot kind of sets all the moving pieces up. We've got the car coming, we've got the newspaper going onto the driveway, and we've got her coming right along. The way our directing process is, like, we usually call me the director, but really we're a directing team because Trevor's directing the actors a lot too. Like he'll call out suggestions from the side. He'll say things to me if he thinks I'm doing something that's stupid. He's like, "What are you doing? Is that underexposed? Over, just whatever." And so we really, we kind of call me the director and the DP, and we kind of call him a producer. We had a technical advisor on this shoot, which is amazing. And what I mean by that is that app. This is a guy from the company who can actually run that app. He knew how to, make it work. He knew what to make it look like what kind of shot not what kind of shot we needed, but what screen within the app we needed for it to make sense, because he's the one that installs this stuff. He's the one that sells this stuff to customers, and he helps people set it up. So he was there to help make sure that we got the right part of the app shown and that she's touching the right button. So in these pictures, it looks much brighter than it is because he's exposing the photo properly. Mm-hmm. But to your eye, this is much darker. And evidence of that, you can see how bright these lights are, these house lights. In pure daylight, you would not see that. Those would just look like they were turned off even when they were on. He's half disrobed here, and there he's full disrobed. So there he is to bend over the paper. We've got our other character moving in. I'm going quickly, but hey, follow along, guys, because you're a filmmaker. You want to be a filmmaker? All right, grow a pair, okay? So this sets up the geography of our entire scene right here. He's coming from his house. She's coming up. We know where every single character is in space right here. Everything the viewer needs to know is here. And that's it. That's very important. You have your original shot showing the audience exactly where the characters exist in space. So that way when we cut into the tights where you can't quite see where they're at, the audience already has that context. Their brain remembers. This is kind of around sunrise time, and we really wanted to have that sunrise kind of feel. And the establishing shot that shows the houses kind of showed like some yellow light hitting the houses, so we're maintaining that. This was not a take, but his facial expression was so hilarious that I had to put it in there, despite having a little out of focus.
I called East Coast Irrigation. They took care of...
You're going to hear me laugh. Sounded more rambly in that than I actually do in real life because you were cutting to think.
I don't know about that.
Well, a little bit more rambly than real life.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
Do you have you want to show the full commercial?
Yeah, I think I'll see if I can pull that up. We're almost done here. Anything else? Any other questions we can share with the group?
How long did it take you to do that from beginning to end? Like from the time you arrived on set?
Just the shooting, not like planning?
Just the shooting.
We got there, well, if you want to, we came here to the paper clinic at 5:30 and started carrying stuff out. What did we wrap around 10:30?
Yeah.
So okay. 5 hours?
Yeah. It was pretty quick. I mean, if it had gone any longer, we
once we were on set and had cameras roll, like from the time we actually shot the first shot, like when do you think that? It was probably like...
It was close to 7. Actually, it was after 7, I think.
I would say like the shooting took 2 hours. Like from the time we actually started shooting stuff. And, we had to like I talked about before with the Jurassic Park scene, what I talked a little bit about is, well, I'll do a breakdown after watching it.
Sir, you've got brown spots. No, your lawn. Your lawn has brown spots. Don't worry, my husband, he had brown spots, and then I called East Coast Irrigation. They took care of everything, and now I can water my lawn right from my phone. East Coast Irrigation. No more brown spots.
Yeah, so that's it. All right. I'll do this 1 minute or less. Establishing shot. We're seeing it. We're setting it up. Car's coming. Still in the newspaper. We got her coming. Next shot. Where are we at here? Well, that's an insert. We'll skip that. So it shows the newspaper saying. This is showing our characters in space, just like the guy in Jurassic Park showing up. We see She's waving them. She's like, hey, they're going to meet. So now we understand the situation. We don't have to like wonder, like, we just started with them talking, like, wait, where were they already together? Like, what's going on? We know everything we need to know from this scene. He doesn't even know she's coming up yet. And this is a meeting out in front. They have said nothing prior to this to each other. He doesn't even notice when she says, sir, sir. Another insert. This one's just for, doesn't matter. And then now when we're into our shot, reverse shot, we don't have to worry about describing, like, wait, are they at his house, her house? We already know. The context clues from the prior scenes let you know everything. Continuity remains the whole time. She's always left looking right. He's always right looking left. So when we cut the dialogue together, I say dialogue, but he doesn't say anything. But he does say a lot with his acting.
Says so much without
talking. He's always
talking.
right looking left. She's always left looking right. That's always the case. It never breaks that. So we never have to worry whether the audience is going to be able to keep up. They're going to be able to keep up. And then there's one other little thing that we had to we see him look. He looks over his right shoulder. So you imagine his head's turning from left to right. So when he looks at his lawn, we have motion from left to right. Your brain kind of knows if that's wrong. Like if you ever have seen like some really crappy video, like maybe even done it yourself, like you made like a little video and then cut it together and realize like, hey, this doesn't work, or this doesn't look like what I see on TV. Well, that's because all these things have to match up, or your brain might not know why it doesn't work. Like, why is it weird? Or why does this look like really cheesy acting? Or sometimes it makes the acting look bad when that doesn't work because you don't believe it. Your brain just disconnects. If all this stuff's right, the suspension of disbelief goes away, and that's why you're able to believe that Luke Skywalker has a laser sword and makes things float. Because of all that stuff working, your brain just accepts it. Like obviously you know it's not real, but you're not questioning that. You're watching and enjoying a movie. So same thing with this small stuff. It's not that unbelievable scenario. Somebody might do this. But it's got to look right. So the continuity remains. This is another one. He's kind of looking over. So when we cut to her hand, if her hand, if it was like the other hand, like wait, how does that work? He's looking over this shoulder. She's holding it up. So all that stuff's got to be correct, and we have to keep note of that while we're on set. And then of course that's presumably her husband out there. He's actually wearing 3 pairs of tighty whities because he was so modest. And I had to do this. You heard me laughing, though. I had to do this twice because the first time he did it, I didn't know he was going to be so good at it. That like I was holding the camera, I was coming up, and he did it, and I started laughing, and I was holding it in, and then I realized I'm shaking the camera. So that's another challenge, not laughing. So yeah, East Coast Irrigation. And then I was talking a little bit about the technical advisor because you had this app here. I was talking about that, but it wasn't showing what we were talking about. That's what I was talking about, having a technical advisor, making sure the app looked right. And so just had to explain, had to make sense. So anybody hopefully watching this for the first time knows nothing about East Coast Irrigation, any of this stuff, they can learn everything they need to know about this skit by watching it. 2 people met, they had this dialogue, she's showing off her fancy way of watering her lawn from her phone, and then of course all of that is framed by this hilarious concept of brown spots. That's just the framing device. But yeah, that's it. Anything else to add, sir?
I don't think I have any more things to add. Any other...
Wait. There we go. I have to say that Jesse did such a good job on this, and I've worked with I've had to like poke and prod actors to try to get the performance I wanted. Like that, I mean, if we had Jack Black on set, I'm not sure it could have been any better. You know what I was saying? This was actually not a take. I was actually I was like testing the camera, and I was like, yeah, Jesse, just hold on, I'm testing the camera. So that actually wasn't him acting. He just was doing that because it's early in the morning. And that's why it's kind of out of focus right here at the beginning. Because I was like testing the camera, but then I realized later on I was editing, I was like, well, that's hilarious. I'm putting that in. So yeah, it turned out really good. We're really happy with it. They said, Trevor, you're saying this is your favorite one of our commercials now?
It's my favorite now.
Mine's still Wayne Anthony.
Now we got to take Jesse over to Cryderman's to have some of that brisket.
We do.
Can you show us I know there's an Easter egg in your video.
Yeah. So you saw in the Cryderman's video, there's the guy at the end, like enjoying the brisket with the kid. His name's Michael Van Ness. Does anybody know Michael? You know, well, he lives right across the street from
Magic Mike.
Magic Mike. He's a comedian, and he's acted in a lot of our commercials. He's acted in the paint suit commercial. Well, he's in Cryderman's. Is he in anything else? I think those are the 2 main ones he's in. But anyway, this is filmed at his house, which we filmed like a lot of
It's
stuff.
in Los Olas.
Yeah, and he's in the Los Olas video. So anyway, we're filming this at his house. And we're like, well, Mike, we don't have a part for you in the video, but maybe we can like sneak you in.
No, he was going to be the original brown spots.
Oh yeah, he was going to do the underwear thing, but his wife wouldn't let him. That's right. Now I remember. So she wouldn't let him do it. So we found a way to sneak him in. So he's an entertainer in the area. Guy, why do you make me do this? Give me that. I'm not pointing with my finger. So he had a newspaper article written about him doing his magic shows or doing his comedy shows. And so we actually went into his house. He had the newspaper framed of his article. We took it out of the frame and we put him in. So Michael Van Ness is right there in the danger zone, as we'll call it. And he actually posted on Facebook, like, I'm actually in the video. Like, it's hard to see me, but if anybody knows, it's like 2 minutes, somebody had found it. Like, I found it, like right here. So he is in there. He's not in the shot of the newspaper. It's the newspaper we're throwing around was not the... We didn't want to throw around his nice one with his article, so we snuck it in right here. Yeah. Sorry, Jack. I'm going to go back to this. So, yeah. Customer is really, really happy. This was designed from the start as a television commercial. Mm-hmm. So we did make, this is actually the Facebook version, slightly longer, 37 seconds. It is extremely difficult to get something with this many moving parts down to the 29 and a half seconds that is required for television, but we did pull it off. And yeah, so it's, like I said, designed as a TV commercial right from the get-go. And the owner of East Coast Irrigation is just now hearing it from us about how much he needs to improve his social media presence, and we're working with him on that. Right?
That's right.
Right.
All right. Well, if we don't have anything else,
I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm listening to all of what you're saying, and it sounds great. And I don't think
I'm hearing a butt coming.
Yeah, here it's coming. However,
there's no butt. There's no butt in this.
There is hair though.
Well, I can zoom in on Jesse.
I guess this is just my preface. I'm, I've never been exposed to this level of work or this type of work, and so my question would be, for my business, my magazine business, I'm trying to figure out how you would foresee your role in marketing DC Prints magazine. Like, for example, we know that I'm promoting health. We know that I'm promoting communication to the community as far as making sure everybody is aware of the healthcare options and insurance options. So it's basically an awareness project for me. And it's very, very personal, and I'm very passionate about it. But at the same time, there's this under jab to all the people who are working in corporate America who gave me a fit about coming to work too dressed up and having on too much lipstick and my flashy colors, and so that is where the photo shoot in the pharmacy and the ball gown came from. And I want to kind of keep that consistent, that theme consistent with the flamboyant look matched with the healthcare, to let little girls know, you can still wear your tutu, but get your lesson, be smart, and get your career going. So how do you think you could perpetuate what I think is my theme in a commercial?
So usually for concepts like these, they take me some time to think through. Yeah. So for instance, with this one, all I was given was the guy does lawn care, or he does sprinkler systems, he does landscaping, he owns East Coast Irrigation, and he was the one who had the idea. He's like, I don't know how I want to do it, but I want to do the word play on somebody with whitey tighties and the words brown spots. How that's going to become a script that makes any sense, he didn't have any input on that. He just, so it took me, I think I was running on the treadmill, and I had the idea, and I jumped off and text Trevor okay, I think this is how it's gonna work. So I didn't plan for I'm gonna sit down and figure it out right now. I just thought about it over the course of a couple of days, and then I had an idea. Yeah. With Chrissy's idea, I was at Starbucks. With the paint suit idea, we were at Chipotle. I don't know where the ideas come from. I don't know how many there are. I just know that I have them sometimes, and then we do it.
Along with brown spots. Yeah, no.
It's not, if I were Rain Man, it would be much easier.
that Tom Cruise movie for the 3 cars.
Rain Man, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
You know what I'm talking about?
No, I know what you're talking about. So you have some brand elements and you have a message you're trying to get out. So that's how it starts. Same with Cryderman's. There's always a certain amount of elements that already exist, a message we're trying to convey, and at the end of the commercial, just like an end of a presentation, what is the feeling you want the viewer to leave with? And that's where you just start to kick around ideas, and it's just creativity and brainstorming. When it's just like pure concepts that are going to be funny and get attention, like those may spring out of nowhere, or they may have a seed that starts somewhere else. But that's a big part of, that's where conventionally an ad agency has done that work. But we'd love to sit down with you, talk about some things we could put together, and then talk about how we could execute on it. But there's a lot of ways that we work
when I
with
start
different
thinking about it, I
businesses.
start like
Now it's stuck in there until you like
I've got
fully...
fragments in my head already like forming, but they're nothing I can articulate yet.
Okay, well, we have reached our time.
It can be. It depends. Like this, the collaboration came in after I told Trevor the idea. Like, okay, the guy's coming out of his house. It's early morning. We can tell by the lighting. He's going for the newspaper, and some lady says, "You got brown spots." I told it to him, and then like the collaboration came in, like tightening the script up. Like, then the concept, then it worked.
Gotcha.
Then I've got to translate it to screen. So then that's deciding like, okay, we've got to show him walking out. We got to establish where they are. So he's coming out of the house.
This wasn't one meeting. This was like talk with the guy, then we kick it around, then I massage it and talk to the owner. And
then I basically drew a comic book of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love for somebody
It's really
to
terrible.
come up
I
with
drew
something
every shot
we
like
couldn't
how it
come up
worked,
with.
so I could make sure it made sense.
So
we call it storyboard, but I basically drew out like I drew a picture of like a man with a person kind of far away waving. So then like I knew like okay, this person's coming from this direction, and then I kind of drew like the people back and forth with like I wrote like the dialogue, and then like because then I can kind of look at it, and then I can rearrange the pages.
Okay, you'll hear more of this process through future episodes of Bisque and other stuff we put out. But thank you for coming. If you have any questions, please let us know. We'd love to talk to you more.